How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Set 6, and today we are going to be talking about Expedition 33. Now, the other day there was a developer direct from Xbox, and Expedition 33 was one of the feature pieces of this showcase. Yeah, that works. So I'm going to go through everything that was said. There were some pretty cool reveals in there. We're going to talk about it a little bit. There is another video coming as well, because there was a launch date trailer that was released, so I'm going to break that down in another video, but I figured we'd just talk about everything that we got revealed at the developer direct. So please do hit the like button, subscribe for future content, give the video a share, get the word out about this game because it's shaping up to be something pretty special possibly. So yeah, anyway, let's crack on. So if you don't know what Expedition 33 is, Expedition 33 is a turn-based RPG that's based on JRPGs from the past, but implements the latest in technology in an attempt to refresh the genre and kind of bring it up to date with modern sensibilities. The combat system shares similarities with games like Legend of Dragoon and Lost Odyssey, where you have real-time elements worked into the real-time combat, similar to Final Fantasy VIII as well with Squall's Gunblade. Now, the developers at Sandfall Interactive refer to it as a reactive turn-based combat system that merges turn-based combat with reactive, real-time offensive and defensive elements. So for the offensive elements, it's things like adding attacks via a combo system, similar to Legend of Dragoon if you've played that, and defensively, it's about parries, dodges, blocks, and using them to expose vulnerabilities on the enemy and take advantage of them. So it's a very cool combat system. Now, as far as the narrative goes, the game is set in a world that's inspired by late 19th century France, and it focuses on something called the Paintress. Now, the Paintress appeared 67 years ago with this giant monolith structure that she stands on, completely out of nowhere with no warning or anything like that, and each year the Paintress paints a number on the giant monolith, and everyone that has gone beyond that age is erased. Now, just to go off on a tangent very quickly, there was a bit of conversation in a previous video and on stream when we've spoken about it that maybe some people could survive past the number. Say the number was 34 and someone was 33, but then they turned 34 and the number turned to 33. Could someone survive that? Could people age past the number, luckily? And this seems to say no. This seems to say that if you have gone past the number, if you are older than the number, you're done and you get erased. And the impact that has on the world is pretty big. In the previous system, where maybe some people could survive and skip out and get lucky, the population isn't being decimated, it's being reduced. Whereas in this situation now, it looks like we are working towards, extinction. So that definitely raises the stakes for the world, and it also makes the character that we saw in one of the previous trailers, Renoir, very suspect, because he's much older than 33. Much older than 33. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Verso as well, he looks like he's a little bit older than 33. Maybe it's just that stylish white grey wisp that he's got in his hair. Yeah, maybe that's it. Anyway, end of tangent and back to the basic premise of the story. So the Paintress has appeared, the Paintress paints each year, people older than the number that the Paintress paints disappear, and every year an expedition is sent out with the intention of killing the Paintress, but none of them have ever returned, and clearly none of them have ever succeeded. Which then brings us to the game and Expedition 33, which is the expedition that our characters that we're following are setting out on. Now, the team say a few interesting bits as we're going over this, and they talk about how rather than fashioning a story of good versus evil, they wanted to focus on the differences in people's perspectives on what needs to be done in this world, and the conflicts that arise from those different perspectives. And this is a strong indication that what we're going to get here from Expedition 33 is a very character-driven narrative in a world that is gradually losing hope, and we're going to see people push to the very limits of desperation. We're going to see people react in different ways to the trials that they're going through in this game. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to explore the situations that come up in this world that's gradually losing hope. And I can't wait to explore the moral dilemmas that come up as well. It's definitely going to throw things like that in front of us, and, you know, I'm here for it. I am here for it. The developers continue to talk about how they want the characters to feel like real people with real experiences, and they also want the story to feel dark and mature, with the heart of the story clearly focusing on dealing with the existential threat of the Paintress, and also dealing with the loss and grief that's caused by the Paintress in this world where humanity is slowly being eradicated. And they also pose the question, in a world like this, how does one stay hopeful or make peace with their fate? And how are they supposed to exist with each other in a world like this? And speaking of the characters, we get a little bit more information on those characters. But first off, why does this woman feel a bit sus? Like, am I being a bit too much of a skeptic? Have I been dealing with Chadley in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth too much? Because she feels sus. She looks older than 33, right? Oh, I can't say that, can I? No. Moving on. We learn a little bit more about Gustav and Lune, who are fully invested in the expedition, even though they seem to have disagreements over how to go about things, which is something we just touched on a minute ago. And it kind of feels like they are probably going to be the main vehicles, at least in the bulk of the game, for a lot of these moments, a lot of these dilemmas, a lot of these conflicts that come up based around what they need to do and based around what's happening in the world. We also touch on Seal a little bit, who's been through a lot of pain in her life seemingly, probably related to losing loved ones to the Paintress, something to that effect I would guess. And Seal is described on the Expedition 33 website as someone who has come to terms with death, and while she'll give her all for the expedition, it'll either be enough or it won't be, and she's comfortable with it either way. So I'm thinking we may need to have an intervention with Seal at some point, talk things through with her, give her a little bit of hope, because it does feel like she has essentially given up on hope, and things will just be what they are. It is what it is, essentially. And then we come to Maëlle, who's just intent on living her life rather than just living longer, so basically suggesting that she'd rather go on the expedition and be involved and try and make a difference than just sit at home and wait for her time to come. Which, you know, it kind of makes sense. She's only 16 though, so she's a lot younger than the rest of the group. So it's going to be interesting to see how she reacts differently to certain things. And obviously, we've broken down these characters in videos before. Maëlle is also sus. Or maybe not sus, but there's definitely more than meets the eye to her. You know, she was adopted at 3 years old by Gustav's family. We see scenes of her talking with other characters like Renoir. We see a scene that seems like she stood near the Paintress in one of the trailers. So yeah, there's a lot going on with Maëlle, I would say. Definitely a lot going on with Maëlle, and, you know, we'll see how it pans out. But then we get some information on a couple of characters that we've loosely seen before in trailers. The first of these being Monaco, who's referred to as a bloodthirsty philosopher and is an additional fully playable character. He apparently has a mechanic where he can turn into a creature that he defeats, and we get an example of this in the footage that's provided. It seems like it's a kind of a blue mage with a twist kind of situation, maybe? Like a Gao situation, maybe? It's interesting. We learn that he is very old and has seen many expeditions come and go, and that he's a Guestrol. And the Guestrol are a playful race of creatures who see combat as a form of meditation. The developer then describes them as fun and kind of ridiculous, so I can't wait to interact with them in general as we go through the game, because it seems like the game is going to have a pretty dark tone overall. So having something like this to add a bit of brevity and lighten the mood, you know, this race of creatures who are just a bit silly and a bit ludicrous, I think that can only be a good thing. Because, like I say, the game's going to be dark. Like, there's this massive existential threat looming over everybody. This is going to be a dark game. So it's fun that we've got something like the Guestrol to lighten the mood. But as well as Monaco and the Guestrol, we meet Eske, who's apparently one of the oldest and most powerful creatures in the Expedition 33 universe. And in the same way that Monaco's quite old, so we're probably going to get a fair bit of information off them, I would say the same could be true of Eske, although Eske seems a bit different because Eske's going to be our mount, and Eske's going to help us explore the world's secret areas, and we'll be able to bring stones to Eske and unlock new abilities for them, which will in turn give us access to more secret areas in the world map, which is something we'll get to later, but yes, I did say the words world map, so good times. But yeah, Esky seems, again, similar to the Guestrol, something a little bit silly and a little bit ludicrous that obviously has its place in the world and will, you know, factor into things, I'm sure, but also lightens the mood a little bit, and it does seem like a fun way to go about accessing and traversing secret areas, basically finding relics and feeding them to this giant balloon creature. It's a bit weird, but I like it. They finish off this section talking about the characters though by saying that each character has their own motivations and their own arc that they go through over the course of the game, and their own resolutions to these arcs. So it's very possible that we'll see some quite diverse endings for the characters. Maybe some characters will have a nice ending, other characters maybe a not so nice ending. Again, just adding a bit of depth and a bit of realism to the way the narrative could pan out. It's all sounding like good words. All of these words are sounding like good words. I like these words. But after that, we move on to talk about the combat, which we've already touched on earlier in the video, and we've covered a fair bit in other videos on the channel. But in this section, we really do get a glimpse at the depth of the character skill trees and how they interact with the combat system overall. We talk a little bit about the real-time actions, so the dodging in combat, as well as some of the other real-time actions in Expedition 33's combat. But the developers also then talk about how they've balanced the system for people so that they have a choice, where maybe if you're interested in the real-time elements or very good at them, you can interact with them, but you can also use items and strategies to get similar effects as another option and another way to go about combat. It's, again, something that bodes really well for the game going forward, as I feel like we as a player, when we have real choice and we can impact the world and the way the game plays, it just improves the immersion of the game in general. So very into that. And another thing I'm very into is the skill tree. So the skill tree and ability systems make it so that a wide variety of different playstyles are available to you to go for. You can use the combination of characters that you want, you can set them up with specific skills and abilities like we'll go over in a second, and you can choose how you play them, whether you interact with the real-time elements or not. So this is all stacking up nicely and seeming good, but then we learn about Lumina, and Lumina are the hundreds of passive effects or buffs that the characters can learn and equip. And we also find out that the characters have more than 20 unique skills on their skill tree each, as well as these passive effects that we can learn. And these passive effects we can learn by finding Lumina or equipping gear. So you've got two skill sets, essentially. You've got these passive abilities, the Lumina, that you find or you can equip, and then you've got the skill trees that you work through on your character and pick the skills and abilities that you want to use and hopefully find some nice synergy in there. And I'm looking forward to messing around with these two systems and seeing if we can break stuff. 'Cause that's fun, right? Let's see if we can break stuff. Anyway, moving on. We get a little bit of talk about the visual style of the game and the characters, and we get some information about an early area that we visit in Expedition 33, and that is the Guestrol village, the Guestrol that we were speaking about earlier. Now, this village is described as a chaotic area where we can have some fun. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of mischief we can get up to there when Expedition 33 comes out. It seems like we can play games or engage in combat, things like that. And then after this we get a little bit more talk about the inspiration for certain character designs and area designs and everything like that. It's all very interesting stuff. I am going to leave a link in the description so that you can go and watch the developer direct yourself. If you just want to see the Expedition 33 bit, it's at about the 30-minute mark in the developer direct. But yeah, we get a little bit of talk about the visual style and the inspirations for things, but after that, we get a little bit of talk about something that the team really wanted to bring back from older RPGs. The world map. And this is a world map that we can traverse with our team and visit various locations while we're on our mission. And apparently the map is pretty big, like it's bigger than they intended it to be, so that's a good sign. And they say that using Esky is going to be essential for traversing the map, so definitely going to have to focus on leveling Esky up with those stones. And as a final little bit of a tease, they say that if you want to fight some of the harder bosses in the game, hidden bosses I would assume, you're going to have to explore. So this is very much shaping up to be a full-blown homage to these RPGs that we all grew up with and loved. bringing elements back like turn-based combat and meshing them together with more real-time reactive combat systems, bringing us a world map that we can traverse in 3D, and we have a mount that can get us about to different places, and we can unlock places and find bosses to kill. Like, I am so excited for this game. And we've not got long to wait, because at the end of the developer direct, they announced that the game's going to be releasing on April the 24th, 2025, obviously. So yeah, not long to wait at all, like 3 months to wait, and I'm ready. I'm a little bit concerned that that's like 3 days before the baby's due. Not sure if I'm going to have time to play the game, but we'll see. I'm still excited for it, and I just won't sleep. I just won't sleep. Who needs sleep? But yeah, everything that I've heard, everything that they've shown just makes me more excited and more interested in this game. I am super ready for it. Let me know in the comments below how you're feeling about Expedition 33. Is this a game that you're going to dive into? Are you still not quite sold on it? We are going to have another video coming on the channel in the next day or two where I break down the launch date trailer, because there is a separate trailer. And there's a couple of little interesting bits in there from what I've seen so far. So we're going to have a look at that as well. But yeah, as far as this developer direct presentation goes, absolutely smashed it. Absolutely hit it out of the park. Increased my hype, which I didn't think was possible, and showcased the game really well, I thought. So go over and give it a watch if you want, so you can get the full experience yourself. But I just thought I'd break it down, have a quick talk about it, touch on a few aspects here and there, and yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe for future content, but more importantly than all of that, have a great day.